everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll be going over what I read over March, what I've watched, and what I've played. I'll go over what I rated the book, which is 1 to 5 stars, give what I watched, 1 to 10 stars, and give a spoiler-free review, and go into depth what I thought about these contents, and have a spoiler warning on the screen. Let's go ahead and get started. I read 15 books and 2 DNFs. Let's start with I, Medusa. I honestly love Medusa as a creature mythology, her story, and what she means to our current day society. I will always read a Medusa book, no matter what, especially retellings. I have read a Medusa retelling prior written by Natalie Quinderer. Hoping I'm saying that right, which I really did like. So I saw this book came out last year and decided to give it a shot since they had a copy at my local bookstore. The spoiler-free summary is about the earlier life of Medusa to her transformation and a little bit after. Honestly, I really liked the change of depiction of Medusa being an African American with locks for her hair and how she cares about her hair, which is used against her by Athena. Speaking of Athena, she's written the way you would think of Athena. The important Seers moments are heartbreaking to read, but I did like the little note at the very end about the Greek gods and how honestly karma is a bitch, isn't it? There were some scenes that dragged on that either didn't give character development or I didn't really care for. I would totally make a video comparing and contrasting different retellings of Medusa to show my love for her and her story. 4 stars. Jealous Rage. This is a sequel to Endless Anger that follows a different Anderson sibling being Ellie, the middle child that goes to school as a mid-20s student. And yeah, it's the same as the last book, but more on the occult set stuff. Honestly, I like this a little more than the last book, and despite it being a professor-student romance, I still liked it. Everyone was consenting adults and they were hitting it off before they knew their relations. So, and again, the writing was good and the set scenes were well written. I did like Ellie more because she was more relatable and she did have a healthy relationship with her sexuality. Notable quotes being, "I'm needed elsewhere. Your dick is currently on me. You came the night we met. Seemed pretty fucking happy to me. It wouldn't be fair to ask her to swallow my load and not be willing to do the same." Another Persephone relation with the father calling his wife Persephone. Remember, their book was the retelling of Hades and Persephone? Ugh. I did enjoy this book pretty good, the same as the first book, 4 stars. My Funny Demon Valentine. I had this in my TBR a little while ago. Didn't really push to read it to the forefront until I saw the sprayed edges. And then all of the books in the series had pretty sprayed edges, so I got in the whole series before reading them. The series is called Hellbent, and the first book is about Ava who falls for an Asmodeus, who for some reason she can see even though other people can't. Yeah, it's a demon romance series. So far, it's been a fucking ride. I like that your eyes are still gray though. They looked exactly the same the first night I ever saw you. The world was black and white, but you still looked colorful to me. Fucking adorable. It's a series that you can turn off your brain and written like a rom-com. The first book was okay, so I gave it 3.75. On to my first DNF of the year, The Weaver Bride. Look, the sprayed edges got to me again. And you can't trust a pretty book. I was alright with it until 53%, which went downward to 80%, which made me finally said fuck it. The short plot summary is, do you remember that middle-aged school book series called The Selection, where Prince is having to choose a bride between a selection of other girls in the entire country? That's kind of like the Hunger Games, but nobody dies. It's almost exactly like that, but add the weaving that seamstress do as their hair and sprinkle some random powers for women only. I was just not getting into this book at all with the characters, plot, or even writing. I didn't like the Selection series growing up either. Jesus, this book was just rushed, and I know there's a second book coming out, but there should have been more time between the male leads before they sucked face. 2.5 stars. Now we're back to Creepcast, with 3 stories that I'm putting together being Rat King, If We Misbehaved as Children, We Had to Stand in the Shed, and They Told Me I Was Nothing But a Dog. The reason I'm putting these together in this section is because they were all in one video and 2 were written by the same guy. They're all too short to give a simple plot summary, but these were all good, if not great, to listen to. I would have ranked these being my least favorite being If We Misbehave as Children, being 3.5 stars, Wished a little more story, but still good nonetheless. Rat King being 3.75. Again, a little more to the story, but still a sad story regardless, and they told me I was nothing but a dog, coming as the best story with 4 stars. I really liked the story, and it being so sad and messed up kind of conflicted with the scoring, but so far, it's the best story I've listened to from Creepcast. And the last story from Creepcast being Something's Really Weird About My Sexy New Neighbor. I am so disappointed with this story. The premise was good, it being 2 teenagers that are just horny teenagers and not noticing their new female neighbor is hot. They like to do a little peeking as she's undressing and notice supernatural stuff, like the dad saying, "Don't go near her, don't pay attention to her," or when talking about her to other men in the town, where one had an encounter where he lies about having sex with her, but in actuality, he met a random old man in a house where she disappeared. I thought the story was going to the shining direction with the woman in 217, where she's a young woman to Jack at first, but then turns into a decayed old woman when she lures him in. I was really hoping for that after one of the teenagers has sex with a woman, and the mom comes in, "What the fuck is this old man doing in your room?" But the story just went to a shitty creepypasta route that no one can understand what the fuck is going on with the secret agents. Where did dad go? What's in the spots? What is the spots? And are we still in the same dimension? I did like Hunter being solo in this story and going insane, with usually Wendigoon keeping him contained. So if you like that type of episode, then go give it a listen to. But if you care about good stories, then skip it. 1.75 stars. My Demon Hunter, the second book in the Hellbent series, which was the same sentiment as the first, but more notable with the female lead because she's curvy. Notable quotes. He didn't try to stop himself from watching the lustrous mounds of roundness that comprised her ass. The flesh jiggled slightly with every step, and it was the most delicate sight he ever beheld. Ass man that loves the jiggle? He's a keeper. Damn it, why hadn't she brought that giant gray dodo and trained it with it every day of her life? Yeah, why haven't you? The Naturals. I really wanted to read this series after Let's See, aka Newly Nova, recommended this series. I did try to read the Inheritance games, but didn't like it at all. I binged this shit almost back to back. I didn't finish the last book until April, but I'm just going to be talking about the first 3 books in this video. The plot summary of the series is about a group of teenagers that have supernatural understanding, adult understanding, on how criminals think and how profiles work while they solve crimes. The first book was pretty good, and honestly, I really like thriller books that give an actual understanding of solving crimes. This series is heavy in inspirations from Manhunter or its TV adaptation Hannibal, and I loved it. I gave the first book 3.75 stars, and then the rest of the series went up, with the second book being 4 stars and the third book being 4.25, which is my book of the month. Congrats, Olin. Notable quotes. Why wear polish at all if it was transparent? Because it's better to wear some kind of nail polish than none at all. I know this series is set before Simply Nailogical made on the scene on YouTube, but even I tried to do my nails to protect mine. None of us had normal childhoods. If we hadn't, we wouldn't be naturals. Leah had really just implied that my fictional 21st birthday had taken a Girls Gone Wild turn. Did you just hit me with a Girls Gone Wild reference? I don't know if I should be disappointed or happy that we have a pop cultural reference in this time setting like that. My second DNF this year being If Not For My Baby. This has gotta be my hottest book take for this year, if not my hottest choice to DNF this year. I had read Kate Golden's previous series, The Sacred Stones, with me dropping at the second book of the series. I did not want to give her a second chance at her writing and her chemistry, but the plot summary about this book is a woman that goes on tour with a famous Irish folk blues singer. It's Hozier, and falls in love with him. I just gave up after 40%. I couldn't get into the chemistry. It was just boring with the female lead just not being interesting, nor the female lead either. I'm just not into Kate Golden's books, and that's okay. 1.25. And for the final book of March, The Fabric of Our Souls. This is my first book from K.M. Monova. who I forgot was until after I bought this book secondhand. I wasn't really into her type of books, but I randomly found this one and gave it a shot. The plot summary is about two young adults being in a mental institution and falling in love. This book was just yeah, I guess I read it, which means 3.25. I was really into it at the start until the last quarter of the book. I liked the one flew over the cuckoo's nest vibes with everyone getting along, including the doctors. I liked how the characters were written with the female lead depressive, suicidal ideologies and the male lead desire to not cut himself as he's falling in love with her. The set scenes were well written and everything was going great until I got random weird vibes from the male lead's friend and the serial killer on foot legend at the last quarter of the book. I wasn't expecting the serial killer legend to be real, and this is suddenly a thriller book, but also a love triangle. I absolutely hate the love triangle trope. Unless you have it being Polly out of nowhere, then it's fine. Like Iron Widow. It's like the book was rushing to be over and didn't know how. Everyone but the best friend lives and they have a kid at the end. I didn't like it enough to keep my copy, but I wanted to give this author one last chance with her most popular book, Leave Me Behind. I couldn't even give it a score at all, and I don't count it towards my goal. I stopped at the scene where the female lead is basically sexually assaulted by the male lead, and nobody reports him. I finished 3 animes this month. Delicious in Dungeon. Me and my husband heard nothing but great things about this anime. So yeah, we're behind on the bandwagon, but just in time before season 2. The plot summary is about a band of adventurers going down into a dungeon to save a sister. But how are they supposed to survive without food? Eating monsters. This was a great time. The comedy was pretty good, and the recipes they came up with the monster parts, and they made us hungry every time we watched it first thing in the morning. We gave it an 8 out of 10 based on our rating score on My Anime List does their rating. It's a good, cozy, relaxing anime to watch and eat alongside the adventurers. JJK, The Calling Game Part 1. Me and my husband aren't big fans of JJK, but can still enjoy the anime every now and then. We really liked season 2 and got caught up before Calling Game arc was coming out, so we watched it weekly. We liked this season, same complaints with other people on how long and boring the expedition episode was. My husband was caught up with the manga, and when he realized that the Maki episode was coming up, he was stoked. I wasn't into Maki at all until her episode came out. She was amazing, cool, and badass during this entire episode, and didn't show up again for the rest of the season. I know JJK has problems with writing women and how female characters are just treated to the sidelines or non existent at all, with a few moments to themselves in the entire series, with the exception to Kiara and Takako Uro. Nice to see queer representation to a series like JJK. She's only in like a few episodes and is pushed to those sidelines for the rest of the season like Maki. Fight scenes were cool, nicely done by Mappa, so we gave it an 8. We're gonna watch the next season and just have a good time. Fate Strange Fake. So far, anime of the year for me. I wouldn't say I'm a massive Fate fan, but I do collect figures, have a copy of the Studio Dean adaptation and the Unlimited Blade Works adaptation. I have the first Heaven's Field movie and did play the mobile game a few years ago until I wasn't into it. I recently listened to Nezumi VA play the Fate Stay Night visual novel and caught up to listen to her weekly streams of Fate Hollow Aratzia. When the prologue episode came out and the first episode came out 2 years ago, I was fully excited to watch this new Fate anime that I had no knowledge of. I waited until they finally came back to the series and watched it weekly on the dot. I wouldn't say you need to watch the other adaptations or go read the visual novel to be required before this anime, but I would recommend maybe go watch the prologue episodes of either Unlimited Blade Works or Fate Zero to understand how the Holy Grail world works. I watched this by myself, but my husband was watching me geeking out on the Easter eggs and the references to the universe of Nasu, including Kiara no Kyokai. I was showing him the beautiful artwork and the cool moments in the anime that he was curious about getting into Fate himself. So I will be happy to get him be sucked into this rabbit hole with me. But yeah, this was a 10 out of 10. I will be watching the second season and gonna go read the light novel or the manga adaptation. I played and watched. My husband played 4 games this month. Octopath Traveler. I was curious about this series since I'm into old school RPGs. I heard okay to good things about the first game, so I bought it and gave it a shot. Plot summary is just how old RPG game stories work: get a party together, grind some levels to kill bosses. I really liked Primrose because she's a dancer like I have my character class in Final Fantasy XIV, so she was my first pick. I wasn't disappointed by her story or her design. I did get into getting all the characters and really struggled with their Act 2 and Act 3 storylines to the point I dropped the game after 52 hours. I hated that they recommended a certain level, so when I hit that level or got a little higher, turns out no, they don't want that level. They want something higher, like 10 or 20s level higher than that. I will be giving the second game a shot when I get around to it, and I've heard it's better than the last game. Monster Hunter Stories 3. My husband bought a digital deluxe version for me so we can play alongside together, and we had nothing but a great time. I didn't really like the second game because the cat was annoying, but I really liked Rudy since they were voiced by Christina V. You don't need to play any other games before this one since they have a free demo for you to understand the mechanics of the series. Got into the final boss before I was so pissed off, I dropped the game. My husband did finish it and let me see what the rest of the game looked like. I really liked the characters, the story, the voice acting, the monster designs, and the monsters themselves. It was nice to have my husband beside me geeking out on who's in the game and how cute the designs were. It made me interested in the monsters that I've never seen before, since Wilds is the only game I played. Despite me dropping the game at the very last moment, it's still a really good RPG game that is wonderfully made with love. Fatal Frame 2 Remake. I pre-ordered this game before playing any other Fatal Frame game I've touched, and we'll get back into it. But I don't know why I made this decision because I had such a difficult time up until after the first encounter with the Kusabi that I dropped the game and watched Gaps Smolders play. I've been watching her play the older games up to Fatal Frame 4 to give it a shot myself. Even though I dropped it, the game is still beautiful, the story is still good as it was before. Then I was told that the game got patched and maybe I shouldn't have started with 2. Oh well. Resident Evil 9. I have backseat watched my husband played Resident Evil 4, the original, and the remake, 7 before he dropped it, 8, and now 9. I've played the first game myself, and it was an okay time. I am sometimes a pussy when it comes to horror games, so I got my husband to play it for me so I can watch him. Especially games with guns since I am awful at shooting. We liked this newest entry to the franchise. We haven't played the second game yet, but we did like seeing Leon again and Grace as a new character. The only complaint we have is the Raccoon City section with Leon. It was boring and maybe makes the game more around Grace. But hey, seeing Leon was good and a certain other character too. That is all I have for today and for this video. I hope you guys like, share, and subscribe for videos coming your way. Have a good morning, day, or night.